Everything in our studio is based on this social connection to our atmosphere in the studio is one of connection, and that is part of one of our values, actually, because we know that strong social connections lower stress, improves mental health, and even increases longevity. And your studio can serve as one of these community hubs. Friendships that are formed within your doors or your classes can be just really changers of health and lifestyle. It's amazing what we can do. Welcome. Stick around if you want to learn about the art and philosophy of beautiful movement mixed with evidence-based exercise science. We'll be having tough and inspiring conversations with other coaches, experts, artists, and athletes. Our goal is to challenge myths, explore concepts, and engage in healthy debate as we dive deep with intrigue and curiosity. I'm your host, Hannah Deutscher. I've been teaching dance, Pilates, and yoga for over 2 decades. And what I've learned is that movement can be the joy that integrates us all together. When we can trust and express ourselves through our bodies, we are unlimited in our ability to change ourselves and our communities for the better. We, as movement teachers and coaches, have the power to help people experience this for themselves. Okay, everyone, let's dive in. Exchanging ideas and changing people's lives one session at a time. This is the Pilates Exchange. Welcome back to the Pilates Exchange, everyone. I am really glad you're here. We're going to take a little bit of a departure of our normal content, and we're going to be talking today about the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine and how you, as a movement instructor, can help your clients thrive. I do think it's really important that anytime we are making suggestions for our clients or within our classes, that they are always science-backed. So I would like to dive into a few different ways that, with, of course, research supported, that we can help our clients live their fullest and best lives. A little bit of a background here. I do have a certificate from Harvard based on lifestyle medicine. I'm a lifestyle medicine advocate. I'm not a doctor. And I did this whole course just about building sustainable nutrition plans and to also understand how the choices that we're making, our lifestyle choices, are going to have a big impact on our entire lives. So I'll put all of my sources in there if you'd like to dive deeper into this subject. I do have a separate course that's just about all of this type of things. But I wanted to give you some tools for you, the teacher at home, to help your clients really live their best and fullest life, and things that I believe aren't overstepping your boundaries. Of course, we have to stay in our lanes always. I'm not saying that you should give specific nutrition advice or specific things here, but to understand all of this information, how it can impact not only your clients, but also your own life. So let's start. Lifestyle medicine is based on basically 6 pillars of how these 6 pillars influence all the rest of our lives. And so just really quickly what they are. Physical activity, your nutrition, so whole food, plant predominant nutrition is what we recommend. Restorative sleep, stress management, avoidance of risky substances, and social connections. Now, each one of these pillars has an effect on the other pillar, and I go into this hugely into a separate workshop, but I just want you to know at home that any one of those pillars will have a direct impact on the other pillars. So if we can find and help ourselves or our clients just make one small positive change in any one of these areas, it's going to have a positive and lasting change, hopefully lasting on all of the other pillars. And I think that's incredibly exciting. And this is really placing like a holistic approach to well-being. And we're including Pilates and bar and yoga as one part of this approach to well-being, right? So of course we have our part in there with the physical activity, and we'll get to that one first. But just knowing that these small little lifestyle shifts can create these incredibly powerful changes is really exciting. So let's dive into maybe the first one, physical activity. Now, this is the one that, of course, this is our lane. This is our area of expertise, right? So you are a Pilates teacher, a dance teacher, yoga, fitness trainer, whatever it is that you are currently teaching, you know this from your own experience. That's why you chose the job, right? You love this, right? So regular movement is really crucial for preventing and managing chronic diseases such as cardiovascular disease, diabetes, osteoporosis, just to name a few, but it really has an impact on all of them. We love, of course, Pilates because it really emphasizes maybe that functional strength, balance, and mobility. So those areas are also, I think, part of all the types of movement, that physical activity that we need to be getting. As a teacher, I think you need to be aware of what the World Health Organization recommends. Adults should engage in at least 150 to 300 minutes of moderate intensity exercise, or 75 to 150 minutes of rigorous intensity exercise per week. Okay. So that can look like many different forms. This is where I would put, it depends on how you're structuring your classes. Like if that's going to be where Pilates or the modality that you're teaching, is it going to be in there? Or we also need to be getting, this is also not separate from, also strength training at least twice a week so that we maintain muscle mass and bone density. I know that there's always a big debate on, don't use so much springs, or there's just a lot of silly debate that's happening in the Pilates world. I just want to emphasize that strength training needs to be hard enough where we're actually building muscles, right? We want resistance training. So if you're promoting your classes as strength training, make sure that it is in an area that's actually going to be beneficial for them. We have that resistance. They're working hard for it. So it's that your Pilates training is then fitting into that strength training area. Or if you're in the moderate intensity exercise, remember that 150 to 300 minutes area. That's also great. Pilates mat classes, that's a wonderful area to be in. Your vigorous intensity exercise, that's going to be harder exercise. That's why we incorporate HIIT training and cardio bar classes into our weekly training of what we offer for our clients. That is an area where your heart rate is high. Like we want to get that intensity up, the blood pumping, to make sure that we are in those areas. Okay. So again, it really just depends on the modalities that you're teaching, the types of classes that you're teaching, how you're going to be recommending those current guidelines. But your clients, all of them should be aware of what those guidelines are. So one more time, adults should have 150 to 300 minutes of moderate intensity exercise per week, or 75 to 150 minutes of vigorous intensity exercise per week, plus strength training at least 2 times a week. Both of those are very, very important. And of course, we always want to talk to them about reducing your sedentary behavior. That means that the clients that you know that are sitting for long periods of time, that increases all sorts of health risks, even in active people. I think that's really important, that you can't just undo if you're sitting the entire day and then you stand up and you go do Pilates 2 times a week. That's not enough. We really want to try to help them understand that getting up out of their chairs, going for a little walk within the day, even just a couple of squats, stand up, sit down, stand up at their desk, that's going to help them. So maybe building that into the sessions that you're giving to them will be helpful, I hope. So what can we do as Pilates teachers or movement teachers? We can educate our clients on movement variety. So not just Pilates. I know that we love Pilates and yeah. But there's other types of movement and we want movement variety. We want to encourage them, go for a walk. Let's get stretching. What about other strength training? What's your cardio look like? Even promoting just like small little daily movement habits. Maybe give them an extra little spine twist or spine articulation, something that they could do at their desk. If you give them one homework that they could do that week, that's going to help them a lot. We want to emphasize that it's a long-term game, long-term fitness goals. It's not about just the aesthetics. It is how are we helping them move well for a lifetime? And that's verbiage, that's ways that we can talk with them that's going to impact them for their lives. Dr. John Ratliff from the Harvard Medical School says, exercise is the most potent and underutilized antidepressant, and it's free, right? Movement is not just going to help their bodies, but it's going to help their minds. There's many quotes from Joseph Pilates that's talking about that, right? Many, many quotes. You can look them all up. Here's a statistic for you. People who engage in regular physical activity reduce their risk of all-cause mortality, that's death, by 33% compared to inactive individuals. That's coming from the British Journal of Sports Medicine in 2022. 33%, that's incredible. We know how physical activity helps, but how potent that is, that's pretty incredible. So we have our duty as the movement professional in their lives to help them understand that this is a long-term, it's not a game, it is a lifestyle that we always want to be talking about so that they understand that how it impacts that little puzzle piece for their entire life. Let's move on to pillar number 2. So these are not in any specific order. I just want you to know that there's 6 of them though. That is our whole food, plant predominant nutrition. Right? Now, I don't need you to get into, if this is not your area of expertise, we don't need to give out diet plans. We don't want to get into, it is a science that's behind nutrition. But what we can do is understand and also teach that our nutrition directly impacts energy, inflammation, recovery, and brain function. A plant predominant diet, I'm not saying vegetarian, I'm not saying vegan, I'm saying more plants can help reduce the risk of chronic disease and improve overall vitality. The way that we can talk about it without overstepping our bounds is reframing food as fuel. So we're not going to be talking about restrictive diet. We are talking about how nutrition plays an important role in movement and recovery. Examples of how you could do this, you can ask questions. Did you feel energized in class today? We can, when we're talking about ourselves, maybe this is an area that you need to also take a look in, and that's okay. There's always room for improvement, not only for our clients, but for ourselves and ourselves also. Christian and I strive to make sure that we're getting all of our vegetables and fruits in. We're striving for at least, very minimum, 5 vegetables a day, 2 fruits a day. We're trying to emphasize our vegetables. 5 is our minimum. We're more in the 7 to 9 is what we're portions of vegetables per day. All the different colors of the rainbow. So I'm just going to leave that out there. That is an easy way to get all those plants in there. Another way that we can emphasize nutrition is we're going to encourage hydration. Many clients experience muscle cramps or fatigue just due to dehydration. So just a simple reminder to drink water before and after class can make a difference. We personally give breaks to drink water during class. Now, I have seen the Facebook people in the groups and the Instagram, don't drink water, it kills the flow. I think that's a bit of BS. If your client is thirsty, they need to be drinking water. So just help them drink water. Oh my gosh, just take a second, drink some water. So I just want to put that out there. Many people are dehydrated. They're not drinking enough water. That's just one extra little thing that you could do to help a healthy lifestyle. So promoting mindful eating, just as Pilates teachers help mindfulness and movement, we could also encourage awareness around their food choices and your own food choices. What Dr. Mark Hyman says, food is medicine. You've heard that all the time. Food is medicine, but what you eat literally becomes you. Wow. Wow. Food is medicine. What you eat literally becomes you. And that's just so powerful because those nutritional choices are going to directly impact energy, inflammation, your recovery, and of course, your brain function, like we said before. A diet rich in whole food, plant-based foods can reduce the risk of cardiovascular disease by 31% and lower all-cause mortality by 25%. That's from the Journal of American College of Cardiology. It's just so powerful the way that our food choices are going to help your overall life. All of us would do good taking a look at those, because those little choices that we're making, this is something we can't do without. You must be eating throughout your day, and all of those, every time you're putting something into your body, it would be great to make a good choice in there. I'm not talking about good food versus bad food. There's no such thing. But we all have choices to make a little bit more healthy choice, one versus the other. It's everything is in comparison to what, the choices. So there is no good or bad food. But we do know that predominantly plant-based foods, nutrition is going to do as well.
When I started teaching, I felt underprepared and overwhelmed. I needed to learn how to plan my training so that it made sense, but I wasn't sure what was working and what wasn't. So many teacher training programs leave out the actual art and business of teaching. This is why we created Train the Trainers. Train the Trainers is designed to give you the tools you need to create a powerful learning environment for your students. Gain access to the vault of our collected knowledge where you can learn everything we have to teach you, whether you are a freelance teacher or a studio owner. Get constructive feedback on your teaching with actionable tools you can apply immediately. We can't wait to be part of your teaching journey and to help you grow in your business. Welcome to Train the Trainers.
Let's move on to another pillar, restorative sleep or just sleep. Why is this important? Yeah, sleeping is good. I love sleep. Sleep is just critical for muscle repair. You know that. Memory consolidation, so how our brain works, stress regulation. Lack of sleep affects your reaction time, coordination, and immune function. You've seen this in your clients, right? So if someone comes in and says, I only got a little bit of sleep, and then watch how their coordination tanks, how their concentration is just not there, how they have less power in their body. So talking to them about sleeping is, checking in with them. If you're going to be doing a crazy workout and they tell you that they haven't slept well that day, you're going to or should be changing a little bit their workout plans because you don't want to take any chances there. So sleeping less than 6 hours a night is associated with a 13% increased risk of mortality compared to those who sleep 7 to 9 hours. And that source is from the European Heart Journal in 2018. Long-term sleep deficits has a big impact on your long-term mortality. So trying to aim for 7 to 9 hours of sleep, that's your optimal health recommendations, 7 to 9 hours. Some people are going to need a little bit more in that range, up to the 9 hours, some people a little bit less. Knowing our athletes and our highly active individuals may need more sleep. When I was dancing professionally, I needed more sleep. I was more in that 8 to 10 hours for my muscle recovery. Poor sleep is really linked to higher injury risk and reduced performance in both daily life and your fitness settings. So what can we do? We can encourage movement timing. So intense workouts too close to bedtime can interfere with sleep. Maybe in those evening sessions, you might want to benefit for a little bit slower and breath-focused sessions. That's one way to do it. You can teach some breath work before sleep. So a few minutes of diaphragmatic breathing at the end of class can activate the parasympathetic nervous system. That might be a way that you can support them. You can discuss sleep hygiene, maybe suggesting a wind down routine such as stretching, minimizing screen time, maintaining a healthy or a consistent sleep schedule. Those are all different ways that we can maybe promote or at least start talking to them about how their sleep is. Remember that sleep is really important for your muscle repair, for memory consolidation, and stress regulation. Lack of sleep is going to affect reaction time, coordination, and immune function, among other things. Let's dive into stress management because I think I know those two are very intertwined. Stress management, chronic stress leads to inflammation, tension, and nervous system dysregulation, which can manifest in pain, poor posture, or movement restrictions. How can we help as Pilates teachers and movement teachers? We can integrate mindfulness into movement. So encouraging students to focus on breath and alignment rather than just pushing through exercises. That could be one way to do it. Another way, we can try reframing stress relief through movement. So again, instead of pushing for the high intensity workouts, maybe it helps clients recognize that movement itself can be a stress reducing tool. We can recognize the stress symptoms in clients. If someone is visibly tense, maybe let's use some grounding exercises such as long exhalations, gentle movements. You see their bodies, when they're stressed, and maybe just recognizing that. So I love this quote from Dr. Wayne Dyer. You can't always control what goes on the outside, but you can always control what's going on the inside. In all of these different pillars, you may want to have different resources available, but different referrals of people that you can refer out to. So maybe it is a psychologist. If someone is constantly coming in stressed out, you might want to recommend a coach, a different therapist, a psychologist. We have lists of people that we refer out to. I'm definitely not saying that this is in your area that you need to take control of, but having the background of knowing that this stress reduction is going to have a big impact on their overall health is just a great way for you to help them help themselves, right? So according to the American Institute of Stress from 2021, 75 to 90% of all doctor visits are related to stress-related conditions. You have the area, you have the expertise to intertwine the understanding that reducing stress can help them in their overall life. That is not overstepping your bounds there. We have another pillar, and I do want you to understand, I am not saying that you should delve too deeply into this, but having resources to help them is maybe important. And it may also affect you, and this is the avoidance of risky substances. Excessive alcohol, smoking, and recreational drugs can negatively impact cardiovascular health, lung function, muscle recovery, and just overall mortality. So how can we do this? Encourage awareness of movement performance. So asking clients how they feel in class after a night of poor sleep, dehydration, drinking. This can really subtly highlight the lifestyle impacts. Sometimes that clients come in and they will just volunteer that they had a heavy night of drinking. And you will definitely see the impact of that. And maybe gently talking to them about that is necessary. Maybe they're just going to feel it in their movements. Emphasizing lung capacity and breath work. So smoking reduces lung efficiency, which directly affects your endurance in sports and Pilates and fitness. So demonstrating the power of deep breathing may encourage habit changes if they feel like they can't get a big breath. There's a lot of Pilates exercises that do that already. Maybe it's just a side comment there. I just want to also say that sometimes the Pilates teachers were known as like the bad boys of in the fitness world. I know that yoga teachers tend to be more open with their lifestyle choices that they're making. And I see a lot of Pilates teachers emphasizing, oh yeah, the drinking part of it, because there's not that emphasis so much on, it's well known that Mr. Pilates, he liked a good cigar and a stiff drink, right? So we do not need to follow what Mr. Pilates did. We can know what the science is behind that and make some good choices. And some of that comes into how we are wording our exercises. So, saying I took one class and the teacher said, like you're balancing a glass of wine on your head. Like, who balances a glass of wine on their head? But just like making choices in your wording would probably also benefit your clients. Making your own choices in your own lives and of reducing those unhealthy habits. Many of these unhealthy habits stem from stress. So Pilates can be a stress coping tool. Reducing smoking, of course, if you don't smoke, don't start. If you don't drink, don't start. Quitting smoking by the age of 40 reduces the risk of smoking-related death by 90%, according to the New England Journal of Medicine in 2013. It's just, there's more science that says, because sometimes people are like, oh, a glass of wine, that's good for you. There's more science that says, just leave it out if you can. And if you are going to be drinking, do it in moderation, as little as possible. There are lots of great sources I can also link to, or send me a message. I can link to some if you would like, on how to reduce either smoking or alcohol or drug use. We're going to go on to our sixth and final one, and that is social connection. I really like this one. Everything in our studio is based on this social connection to our atmosphere, and the studio is one of connection, and that is part of one of our values, actually, because we know that strong social connections lower stress, improves mental health, and even increases longevity. And your studio can serve as one of these community hubs. Friendships that are formed within your doors or your classes can be just really changers of health and lifestyle. It's amazing what we can do. Loneliness increases the risk of premature death by 26% compared to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. That is insane, right? That's Harvard Health 2020. They have some information about that. So I want you to think about how maybe you can help. And that's easy. This is way like by creating a welcoming environment, greeting clients by name, asking about their week, encouraging just interaction among each other, or you just being that point of connection there. So fostering the group connections. Maybe that looks like group challenges or buddy systems to help people accountable and engaged. You might want to pair up new students with experienced ones to ease intimidation and maybe build rapport. There's a lot of different ways that you could do it. In our Train the Trainers course, we go into a lot of different ways because I do feel this is so important to have a basis within your classes and your studio doors. Why does this matter? Because we know that social connections can lower stress and improve mental health and just increase longevity in all the way, right? So what are we talking about? So some practical takeaways. You're a guide. Of course, you're not a guru. We don't need to be an expert in all these 6 areas. Your expert is in movement, but you can introduce these concepts naturally, and maybe just piquing their interest in one of those can help promote a healthy lifestyle change. You can model healthy behaviors. So sharing your own experiences with movement, stress relief, recovery can help them maybe open their eyes into these different areas. We can encourage curiosity, help clients maybe explore how healthy lifestyle choices can affect their movement and well-being. We can create safe places. So Clients look to Pilates studios and yoga studios as a place for self-care and healing. So we can really help build that culture of support and not perfection. Those are just some of many ideas. I would love for you to think about how those 6 pillars can help and how they can matter. So again, those 6 pillars, we have our movement, we have physical activity, we have nutrition, we have restorative sleep, we have stress management, avoidance of risky behaviors, and the social connections. Those are your 6. Maybe for you, listener, maybe you can pick one and just focus on that for yourself next week. Maybe you don't need to be talking about that quite yet, but what of those 6 pillars can you make a positive change in, or maybe just start thinking about how it affects your life? If you're willing or wanting to dive deeper into this, I do have our Optimal Health workshop that dives into all of those 6 pillars in depth with all the science and all the resources and research behind it. Maybe that's interesting to you. I'll provide the link down below. But, even if not, totally fine. There's a lot of free resources and materials that are out there. What I think is important is just that you understand how they all integrate together. I'm wishing you a wonderful rest of your week. I will be back soon in our next episode. Happy teaching, everyone.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. A great cost-free way of supporting us and the podcast would be to give us a 5-star rating. You can also look down into the show notes and grab any one of the free resources for teachers. I hope to see you next week on the Pilates Exchange. Happy teaching, everyone.